Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Flora White with us. She is CEO and founder at Evolution Content. We're going to talk about media today. We might talk about, girls in tech and women entrepreneurship. Womanpreneurship, I guess, would be the right term here, which is quite important. Flora is live from New York today, and I'm excited to talk to her. She's an MBA, and she's elevating underrepresented voices in business and tech. She has 20 years of experience. She's been building documentary. She's been into edtech, and she's a Producers Guild member. This podcast is brought to you by podbuyer.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts like this one, learn from folks like Flora, add them to your network, and grow your network in the process with a TH right there, net worth. Get leads, get clients. Podcasts are just amazing for that. They're like a flywheel. They're highly scalable, plus they're fun. Podbuyer.com for that. By the way, for those that didn't know, Flora worked at some of my favorite companies, including Nat Geo, HBO, NBC Universal, and it's not her first startup. She started at Red Shoe Enterprises in 2010. So Flora, without further ado, can you introduce yourself? Tell us about what is on your radar nowadays, and tell us about the entrepreneurship stuff you've been onto.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Charles. I appreciate it. And it's so great to be here. I feel like you said it all. We could just end the podcast now. We're done.
Let's hit that stop button right there. That
no,
would be a good...
but I mean, you really said it all. I guess I could dive into what I'm focusing on right now, and I can go backwards. But at the moment, I'm really focused on the hyperlocal economy. I think that, after the pandemic and after all that we went through virtually, we started to realize the value in making in-person relationships and how much you can really gain from just an hour of sitting down with somebody in person. And that's something I know I took for granted before, 2019. So I am a member of a co-working space in Westchester, New York. And I serve on the local Chamber of Commerce, and both of those two things have really helped me fuel my business. I mean, I created it out of nothing. In 2022, I'd worked in TV for 15 years, like you said, Charles, and I had worked in edtech for 6 years, telling story-driven learning for the online classroom, growing engagement by 10%, working with celebrities like Queen Latifah, Omar Epps. When Masterclass was just getting started, we were bringing celebrities to online learning. And I sat back in 2022, and I'm a mom of 2 little kids. And I, just like everybody else, I had kids like pulling on my feet during meetings, like screaming, I'm like on mute, and I was burnt out. I actually went to the hospital twice when I was working in corporate for exhaustion. And I'm like, this is unsustainable. I can't do it anymore. I live near New York City. I'm attracted to like what's happening in tech in the fast-paced life. It doesn't mean that I want to, go to cottage core. If anybody knows, like, I don't want to go sit in a cottage and knit sweaters. I do want to like be engaged in what's happening and be at the forefront, not reacting, but be at the forefront of what's happening in this world. But I can do it in my own way, in the white space that is right in front of me in my own community. And so, Evolution Content was born, and we tell brand stories for businesses, and we do it through subscription-based model, and we do it through an a la carte based model. And I could pause there, but I guess like I can pause there just because I can't listen to myself talk more than a certain amount of time. I want to give it back to you, Charles, but we can go back and forth and answer.
Well, let's talk about the hospital stuff and the burnout there. I'm working pretty goddamn hard nowadays. My wedding is coming in 1 day, but I like doing this podcasting stuff so much that I don't think burnout is in for me. I mean, talking about kids, like we're educating a dog right now, and he's staying with like 2 other dogs. We have 3. We're having children less than 2 years, but that part is, yeah, pretty exhausting. It's exhausting the wife as well, and she's like, yeah, we're gonna put him into adoption. Like, no, we're just not giving up, and it's definitely, these moments of this, the business, the wedding, and there's like a whole array of things. And sometimes, yes, I do feel that the crunch times, and the not the exhaustion, but the stress. Me, it's like this pointy stress, this cortisol, this sword sort of. And yeah, I'm like Iron Man mindset, right? So like just go through it and stretch time, evaluating from a greater distance. I don't think I'm susceptible to burnout, but I it could happen. Who knows? So tell us about like your own burnout experience and like tips that you have to not get into that danger zone.
Yes, that's a great question. I have like an Iron Man mentality. I really can go forever. But I think what burns me is having to pivot tasks continually, just like ping pong all day. And the work is never done. And I know for a lot of moms and also dads out there, you're carrying a cognitive load for your family of all of the different things that you're tracking, managing, need to follow up on, right? And so you it's just never over. And so you can't sleep at night. I know a lot of us have this issue where you're up and then you have me time, and it's from like 10 p.m. to midnight, and you're up doom scrolling and whatever, and you know that it's just like firing off all of your dopamine so that you get like ADD later, and it's not good for your brain, right? It's this immediate hit that you pay for later because your dopamine production goes down afterwards, if you make that a habit. But you steal time for yourself, and it ends up costing you because you're not sleeping. So what I did, the solution for me was to really peel back everything that doesn't matter and be a lot more stingy with my time. So it meant, unfortunately, giving up Girls in Tech. I was managing director of Girls in Tech for 3 years. I grew membership by 800%. We forged a partnership that's still going with Verizon and other big companies, generating tens of thousands of dollars. And I love the work, and I love the mission. Nowadays, every company is a tech company. It's kind of interesting, but we're all tech. And if companies are smart, they're also all media companies. Every company should have its own media vertical, right? And be generating content, no matter if you sell shoes or whatever. And so like, it's hard, at a certain point what I did was I established the Black tech pipeline within Girls in Tech to say, look, this is something that's really important to me. This is an area that still has a lot of opportunity, fostering career outcomes for Black women in technology. And I put that in place, and then I had to step away and give that up. So it means, like in media, if you're a TV producer, the expression killing your darlings or killing your babies does not sound very nice. But what it really means is, if you're writing a script and you love something about it, you just have to, you just have to get rid of stuff. And so just be ruthless about like what is not hitting your KPIs and just chop it out.
Right. Any maintenance process to maintain your sanity, like me, for example, yeah, walking with the dogs solo I started to being relaxing because now they know how to walk. But also I go on my roof and I do some breath work, sun exposure. I also have my punching bag in there, so I'm like alone at night, like Rocky boxing. That's really cool with some music, and yeah, I have my routine of reading Wikipedias before sleep. That actually helps my brain shutting down. So this is like my me time. It's not the best maintenance process because I had like way more advanced ones in the past. But what about yours? Like, how do you disconnect or give yourself like a reward?
Yeah, I mean, I eat ice cream every night, and I'm not fat. I have no weight problems whatsoever. Never had weight issues, but I do. I eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream
The
pretty much
best.
unapologetically.
What flavor?
I like butter pecan because I'm an old woman. Not really, but I do like it because it's sweet and salty.
Their vanilla is like so on point though. Like I've
It
never
is.
tasted any better vanilla. Well, maybe Ben and Jerry's
Now, Ben and Jerry's is good for like chocolate flavors, like half baked or
cookie.
yes, cookie dough. Um, but yeah, I went to 7-Eleven. This is an aside, which is like a convenience store in the US. And ice cream in Virginia and outside of Washington, D.C. was $8 for a pint. I was like, what's going on? And to that point, you know, marketing agencies, everyone's, first of all, I want to say this, entrepreneurship is way up in the United States. Okay. And 42% of all businesses are US or are female owned in the US.
Wow.
And we cannot afford to pay marketing agencies thousands of dollars every month on retainer to generate content strategies for us anymore. Content is user generated. Look at our conversation right now in a podcast. It's really, to me, the value in content is about developing the right messaging with the right people and some nice editing on the back end if that's part of your strategy. But like the production quality, as long as you have good audio, doesn't have to be massively, complicated. So to that end, what we're trying to do at Evolution Content is provide content services for businesses that are actually, one of our models is user generated. You upload your self-shot video messaging to us. We've guided you through, we've given you a story session, a strategy on the front end. You shoot it, upload it to our portal, and we'll make it pretty. We'll put your logo, music, final finishing, color correction on the back end so that you have something quick, beautiful, and inexpensive that's been thoughtfully created for your content strategy. So that's a repeatable model. That's a subscription-based model that I don't think anyone else is doing right now. And it's creating jobs for former media and tech people who are really out of work right now. It's a big problem.
Why they are out of work? Is it like AI, like the Hollywood script writers strike that we're seeing?
I mean, that's part of it. There's the strike. There's the move from broadcast to digital and television and entertainment, which is slashing our budgets. You have more streamers out there creating content. So there's more, but instead of having several, like, an oligopoly of studios with big budgets, you have several different streamers that are coming up. And so, there is just fewer people making content and the budgets are down. So, and then on the tech side, of course, you have layoffs, and it's tech and entertainment is the industry that's been hit the biggest in the past year.
Do you think it'll get worse?
No, because I think people in tech and media are innovative and creative by nature. And I do think, like I was talking to a friend yesterday who is a former executive at Discovery Channel, and he was interested in what we're doing at Evolution Content. He said, I want to come on a shoot with you and help out. I mean, what we want to do is create jobs for people in TV to go out in their local economies, go connect with your local chamber of commerce and go make videos about local businesses. It's an easy model. It doesn't take a lot of equipment and it's repeatable. And if you're doing, 5 shoots a week and each shoot is $700 and keep going,
Might pay the rent.
Yeah, pay the rent, and we scale, and then we as an agency take a percentage and we keep scaling, and we can make this model go across the world.
Right. Okay. 42% of women have the small businesses in the US. Like that statistic is quite surprising to me. For example, this podcast, the high performers I had on this pod, women and men ratio, so they all have something in common. It's high performers. And I probably have 20% women to 80% men ratio. I recently started a women only campaign because my databases, maybe they're skewed, it's like LinkedIn. Maybe LinkedIn is skewed, who knows? When you do a SEO search on LinkedIn, let's see who pops out first, how much men vs one. I'm pretty sure it's reflective of that ratio, 2 women for 8 men. But the 42% is perfect. I'm just curious, why is it like moms at home. Like, why is this statistic so high when if I picture an entrepreneur, I mean, yeah, I think it has to do with like women starting businesses at home, right? With the pregnancy and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, the re-entry into the workforce, Charles, is a huge market. There are businesses that, like I did a story about one called Apres in New York City. It's a whole agency dedicated to providing women with fractional roles if they want to take a third of their time to work, to give them skills, to upskill them to re-enter the workforce. So this is a big market that is underserved, right? And so a lot of us are just saying, I've had 20 years of corporate experience. I have the skills I need. I know that I'd rather, not have a cap on what I can earn and work in my own hours and not deal with the political, BS that comes with working in a corporate environment. So yeah, and I think a lot of people, not just working moms, are realizing that with the perpetual layoffs and uncertainty, and some people, consider return to work a deal breaker. You'll see a lot more people starting their own businesses.
Not sure why, and that's taking like a left turn, but I can very much picture a company that would take a sperm and an embryo and breed them in some place that is pretty obvious to my brain. There's probably regulations preventing us from doing that, but the reasons are many, right? Like getting pregnant is stressful, especially for women. If you have a miscarriage, lots of time, lots of energy, lots of emotions. So if we could control these conditions and not have the women like take so much of her time and energy, it's sort of unfair, right? Like VS Mans, what do you think about that potential future? Like this big corporation breeding millions of babies.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie. I mean, you have surrogates, right? You pay women who live in like Idaho $30,000 to have your baby. That exists. So, but
that's not helping the women's cause. It's like being a baby slave or something.
yeah, I personally, I was fortunate enough to have my kids, I did it the way I had wanted to, and I was happy with my journey. But I mean, there's adoption, there's so many different ways to have a child. I think I can't speak for other women, but sometimes, the process of having the child yourself is part of the journey, and you want to enjoy that yourself. I don't think it's as transactional as what you've described, although I think it's hilarious, and there's definitely material there for some sort of a film. But I mean, maybe, you can commodify anything. So yeah, nothing's out of the realm of possibility, Charles.
Yeah, and that opinion of mine was quite sharp as usual, but it's not.
I
It's like
appreciate
way
it.
more. It's way more gray. It's way less biased than the one, because you help these women also gain some money, right? Which is quite important. In tech generally, do we see more women entering that part of the market?
I mean, every business, I do want to go back to the previous point, because I think there's more to say. I mean, I think your question came from the intention of not having women have to sit out of the workforce,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think I addressed that. Yeah, we, when I was on maternity leave, it was I don't think, candidly, I don't think my husband always understood what I was dealing with. It seemed like I was on vacation a lot of the time, but I wasn't. I'm doing a lot of stuff, up all night. But yeah, it does. There is a cost associated with having children to your career. It's just the reality. And so, but then when when I had my kids, I reprioritized, and it gave me a perspective that I would not have otherwise had. And I was better for it. And it let me know that a lot of the micro issues I was focused on at work were not in fact important to me. And I was glad for the experience. And so I was happy to pay the price of admission to have had that experience.
It's a huge shift in your life, like as humans, we're adaptable, but doesn't mean that it's hard and painful. First, the hormones. Second, you have your bouts, your ups and downs. If you can have your own business in the meanwhile and work in these periods of energy, or let's say that you're up at 1 a.m. and well, you can open the computer, crunch in some work. So definitely the entrepreneurship aspect there is appreciated, and it's a really tough moment, like, and both partners are usually affected. Obviously you have way more work on your side, and then the D-Day, delivering, it's very painful. It's really a roller coaster of emotions, which is why, yeah, I'm really picturing that business that would take care of it for us, and control all the conditions as well.
Yeah,
Because
like
if
picture, Charles, if you, sorry to interject, what if you had had 2 hours of sleep last night because you were up helping your partner with your baby, and then, all of the things that happened to you today up to this point still happened.
I mean, it's overwhelmed, like it's,
Right.
I might burn out at this point. I might be like, oh, it's
Mm.
time to reconsider and go back to the planning table. Because me in life, it's always like, okay, we agreed to the plan, we're executed on it. If the plan is not working, then yeah, it's time to sit down, have a nice conversation again, build a new plan B that might work better. But sleep is so important, and I know this sit nowadays on my brain. Sleep like probably 5 or 6 hours, and back in the days it was 8, 9, even 10 hours I slept, even back in these days. And yeah, sometimes my brain, it gets tired, so
Yep.
I
Yep.
can see the difference in performance.
Right. I mean, so that's why I shifted to a more to a more local approach where I have a presence rather than driving to New York City every day. I'm in Westchester County. I'm, serving on the local chamber of commerce. I'm elevating local businesses. I know who my kids' friends are, and I'm involved in every aspect of what's happening right here around me, not in some like far off fictional world on the internet.
Mm.
And I think that's the difference, and that's how I've decided to reprioritize.
And then the kids, like, how do you make sure to provide them with the right education and make sure they're not little pests like I was myself?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sure. We can do this. We can do like a parenting podcast. I would say kids don't tell your kids that they're helping you, because that implies that it's your job and they're doing you a favor. You have to let them know that they have not just a job at home, but a title. You are the pet, the pet manager. Okay, that means you feed the dog. And so it's they own that, and it fosters a sense of pride, and they're doing it not just because they want to earn a reward, but because it's their job and it's what they do to contribute.
Love
And yeah.
that. Like it's like managing a business, right? So love that
Mhm.
tip right there. I'm gathering a bunch of these tips because yeah, I'm having my children's less than 2 years, so very much appreciated. Last but not least, what's your top 3 goals this year? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah, well, this is the first year that my kids are fully back in school, so I would like to hit 6 figures. Evolution Content just started, and that's my goal for the year, to establish a few larger partners that are maybe have some brand recognition for some brand partnerships, and then also continue to serve my local solopreneurs and entrepreneurs in my community that are just starting out. So really serving a healthy mix of both startups, early to mid stage, and also more established organizations.
Right. Where can we find out more about you, Flora?
Evolutioncontent.co.
And I am Charles Cormier, host of founderwisdompodcast.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcast, that is podpire.com. That was Flora White.